I live in a small community with my two children. When we first moved there, it was just us, until one of our neighbor's dogs had puppies. The puppy was a cute, unique dog. One side of its face was black, and the other side was white. The puppy helped make things a lot better for us, and as the years went by, I was very grateful to have that dog. One night someone had broken into our house. We had woken up to the sounds of loud barking and growling. By the time I had made it into the living room where the barking was coming from, the robber was gone. The dog must have bit him because all that was left was a small bit of blood and fabric. I called the police. They did a small investigation, even ID'd the man, but they never found him. By now, the puppy had grown up to a dog about 1.5 years old. He always found his spot on the couch, staring out the window as if waiting for something. Everything was normal. The days passed by. I took my kids to school, got back. They grew up. My daughter Maria was about 4 now. My son just a year behind her, aging at 3. They were well advanced in their speech, often having small conversations with me. One night, my daughter approached me before bed and told me, "Mommy, the dog's a monster." I jokingly played it off, told her that the dog was old, couldn't do much. My kids had always been cautious with the dog, and after the incident with the robber, they seemed more standoffish from it. I put Maria to bed, heading to my own with an exhausted sigh. When I woke up the next morning, Maria was nowhere to be found. At first, I panicked, but then I found her in her brother's room, Matthew. Thinking nothing of it, I got them ready for school and sent them off. A few hours later, while making her bed, I found something gross, almost horrifying. There was a small, chewed-up rat just under the edge of her bed. Thinking, maybe it was wounded, maybe it crawled there, or maybe the dog had just caught it. I picked it up with a shopping bag, threw it away in the outside bin so it didn't stink up the house. After that, I began to notice the dog acting strange. Whenever I looked over, I could always see his eyes on the kids, watching them, following them as they walked by. Maria refused to sleep in a room after that. She only slept with her brother, and usually made a wall of toys in front of the door, little soldiers to protect them. They refused to pet their dog, their eyes weary, whenever he walked near them. One night I woke to a strange feeling against my legs. I turned, only to find there was nothing there, but just outside the door, I heard the patter of paws against the wooden floor of my hall. Thinking it nothing, I fell back asleep, and on the next morning, I woke up like usual. I got my kids dressed, but walking back into my room, I found something strange beside my bed. It was another animal, but this time it wasn't a rat. It was a squirrel. I thought, how did it get there? But I just brushed it off, threw it away in the outside bin just like the rat. I got my kids back from school. I stopped to get a coffee. But when we came back, I found something horrible in the living room. The pillows were thrown off the couches. There was the table overturned, the lamp smashed. But what was even horrible was on the wall, just above the fireplace. It was written in blood, "Where were you?" Maybe the robber had came back. So I called the police, made another report, but to my displeasure, they said they just noted it down. I took it upon myself to clean up. Once done with this simple task, I got bleach and scrubbed the blood off the wall. The bleach eerily left a paler blotch in the wall, reminding me of the words that were once there. The next few days were quiet. The dog had changed its spot from the couch to my daughter's room. I again kept finding mangled animals at my bed, or at Maria's bed. I always heard the patter of paws, but I never caught anything running away or such. One day, while vacuuming the carpet in the living room, the bottom of the vacuum caught on something. I decided to feel around the carpet to see what it was, and it was a slight indent of a circular object. I pulled the carpet back, only to find a latch, and what seemed like a cellar door. When I opened it, I couldn't see anything. It was too dark. I went to the kitchen and rummaged through the junk drawer. There I found a flashlight. I had to shake it a few times and tap it just to get it to work. So I made my way back to the cellar door, and I peeked in. I didn't see anything at first, but then my flashlight caught something in the corner of this concrete room. It was a body. This caught me off guard. I jumped back, and then I looked again, just trying to figure out who it could possibly be. To my displeasure, it was a man in all black. He was mangled on his legs, like he had been bitten by something quite big. I realized it had been the robber that had broken into my house. I immediately shut the cellar door, or whatever that could possibly be, and I stumbled back, kicking the carpet into place, my stomach feeling sick, bothered by such a disgusting sight. I had no idea what to do. Should I call the police? Or what if they suspected me? The sound must have drawn the attention of my dog, because once I looked up, I could see him standing there, watching me. I cleared my throat, acting like I had tripped, holding my ankle and wincing a slight bit. I got up and turned the vacuum off. I put it away, and I looked over to see that the dog's eyes had been following me the whole time. This made a tingle run down my spine. This dog was odd, but of course all dogs could be odd at some times. So I moved on. It was about time to pick up the kids from school. I picked them up from school, we had dinner, and then we went to bed. I checked on Maria's room. I knew the dog was usually in there. I found an odd sight at the door. It wasn't an animal this time. It was Maria's Barbie doll. It was chewed and had blood on it. I wondered where the blood came from, but I decided not to question it. I decided to go to bed that night. When I woke in the morning, I got into school like usual. This time there was no little dead animal, but I had an errand to run. So I went out, I got myself some coffee, went a little grocery shopping, and came back. When I opened the door, the living room was normal. But after I'd put the groceries away and headed to my room, I noticed along the walls were more messages written in blood. They asked me if I was unhappy or if I wanted to die. Each day I washed them away. The wall became paler and paler. I stayed in the house, of course. Probably the best way to ignore it, give it no satisfaction. But they appeared more, popping up after I left the room or went to the bathroom. It was driving me insane. But for some reason it nagged at me that it was the dog. What What an absurd idea. I mean, after all, dog didn't even have opposable thumbs. But for just precaution, I went out and bought an outside leash and tether so I could tie him up outside. He was a quiet dog, didn't growl at me or even fight. For a few days, the animals, the notes, everything stopped. Maria even slept in her own bed, after it was cleaned, of course. But one night after I came back from picking up the kids, I found the house trashed again. I thought maybe somebody's messing with me. Everything was overturned. But what caught my eyes was a large, bloody message reading, "You don't love me anymore." I put the kids in the rooms to play, and I got some bleach, and I scrubbed at the wall with ferocity. But it was so thick it smeared, making the white red. By the time it was somewhat done, it was late. The sun had already set, and I picked up all my supplies, cleaning them up. I checked on the dog. He hadn't moved an inch. We had dinner, then I sent the kids to bed like normal. I picked up the things here and there as I came across them, my hands left from cleaning to a cool glass of wine. I was so frustrated. Everything had been going just fine. Soon one glass turned to two, then three, before I became drowsy. I found my way to the bed, the alcohol lulling me to sleep. My vision turned to a peaceful black, but that didn't last long. I woke in the middle of the night to the sound of my kids screaming. I was still drowsy from the wine when I got up. The room spun, almost knocking me over. I managed to make my way to Maria's room, but she wasn't there. To my horror, there was only a pile of blood in her bed. I walked faster to my son Matthew's room. I didn't know what to expect. I was disappointed, even more panicked when I found that bed empty with blood too. I heard the screams again. They were coming from the living room. I tripped on my way there, suddenly realizing there were animal carcasses spread about the whole hall. I kicked them out of my way, my breath becoming ragged. Horror filled my head when I got to the living room. The back door was open, the carpet pulled back, and the latch to the door wide open. Faint sounds of help came from the dark, drawing me closer, but I couldn't see anything. I searched about the drawers, frantically finding that flashlight. Making my way back to the hole, I looked in but found nothing, not even the body that used to be there. My light caught what looked like a door on the far left wall. I eagerly climbed down, not thinking much of the dangers, liquid courage pumping in my veins. I almost ran to the door, throwing it open, only to find a confusing sight. There was my dog, with two dolls dressed just like Maria and Matthew. The dog put up a good fight at first. He bit me, but I threw him back. His eyes gave me this look, and he began to growl. Shivers ran up and down my spine. But just before I could turn back, the door slammed shut, and I turned backwards to this awful sound. It was like something wet being ripped apart. The dog's face had split at both colors, and it revealed this uncanny darkness in between. I thought of course I'd see like muscle or something, but instead it was just darkness. My flashlight couldn't even penetrate it. And behind me, I heard the words of two people echoing through the door. They always fall for the peaceful community.